My name is Kabelo Mabalani. At the age of 19, I was a rock star. I had it all, including drugs and alcohol. But you don't have to be a rock star to get addicted. Drug and alcohol abuse is destroying countless lives and communities. Users are desperate for help. They want self-respect. They want to lead normal lives again. They want to kick it. Lives and communities are being destroyed daily by alcohol and drug addiction in our country. And in this series, we're going to be meeting people who are affected by it, including users, friends, relatives, rehab counselors, therapists, and even the police. As an ex-addict myself, this is going to be as much of a journey of discovery as is going to be for you. And that journey of discovery starts with understanding the problem that we face with drug and alcohol addiction in South Africa and how it has become the epidemic that we face today. What was once a serious problem has now become catastrophic. South Africa has the dubious distinction of being one of the top 10 narcotic and alcohol abusers in the world and is the largest market for illicit drugs within sub-Saharan Africa. The numbers are staggering. 60% of crimes in this country are substance abuse related. In the Cape, it rises to a mind-boggling 80%. The average age of drug dependency is 12 and dropping. 15 out of every 100 South Africans have a drug problem. Over 10 million people drink the equivalent of at least 18 beers or over a liter of spirits every week. There are over 182,000 illegal shebeens. Nearly half of all motor accidents are alcohol-related. Poverty and mass unemployment are contributing factors to South Africa's crippling drug and alcohol problems. And it's only getting worse. Every user has a unique story of when they began their drug journey. But the results are almost always the same: addiction, as these recovering users will attest to.
I
was 13 years old.
It was marijuana, and then I upgraded to nyaupe, heroin.
I was 14 when I started marijuana, 19 with cat. I left cat for crystal at age 20, and at 21 I started with nyaupe, heroin.
Getting into drugs is easy, too easy. Quitting is the really hard part. So is finding the money to feed the habit.
When our patients live here, because most of them, before they arrived here, to feed their addiction, they stole from their families and they cheated and they lied to them. So when they go back to their families, it's still hard for their families to trust them and give them that support that they need.
I feel bad ngoba esikhathini esiningi like bebangibuka njengento engasebenzi nje emphakathini. Bazi ukuthi nje ngeke iphele imanti ngingaboshwanga or ngeke iphele imanti ngingagijimiswanga umphakathi nento enjalo. Bebangangifuni nje nasefamilini nje bengumuntu nje onga exist kubo.
You know, things got so bad that I eventually slept with a knife under my pillow, because at night I would hear footsteps up and down the passage, not knowing, and because he became so violent, I was actually afraid of my own child. I didn't know how to deal with him and how to handle him. I knew he was on drugs, but I was in denial.
It's the hardest place to be the parent or the loved one involved in this, because while the addict might be in denial and can't see where their life is heading, the parents, the loved ones can, and that's really hard. The person you love is now on a crash course. You know, you can see the devastation. And worse than that is the addict then starts to choose their substances over the family.
At first it felt very great because especially crystal meth, it makes you feel invincible. Like when you smoke, when you just start smoking, it makes you feel very good. And then after a while, when you start using every day, you start having terrible mood swings, anger issues, everyone around you, when they were around me, all my friends, they were always nervous and twitchy.
The worst thing about being addicted is that you always fight with people. People, when they see you, they see this sort of monster or evil person.
You know, weekends was a living nightmare, where on a Friday night, you'd be worried where he was. He'll come home at 2 o'clock in the morning and start knocking on the window, and we'd all be sleeping. And he'll say, open, 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 and we'll open. Eventually, we stopped opening. We'll just go quiet when he starts knocking. He'll start knocking on the window, and he'll knock like non-stop. He'll just knock and knock and knock. Eventually, he'll start swearing us from outside, but then now you're so ashamed of what the neighbors are going to say, so you open and you let him in. And you let him in, and he comes and he opens your room door, and he stands there. And you open the door, and you see the rage in this person's eyes, and you see, you see it looks like your child, but it's not your child. It's just someone else.
The biggest misconception about addiction is that this is about willpower and that it's immoral human beings that land up doing this. The opposite is true. Addicts and alcoholics are the most hard-headed, stubborn individuals on the face of the planet. If they decide that they want to do something, there is nothing that can stand in their way and stop them from doing it. And in actual fact, this is not a moral failing, but it's a disease. And people need to understand that you cannot will a disease away. You need the correct treatment and maintenance in order to live a happy, healthy life in recovery.
When I was younger, I saw my father always smoking around me. He was abusive, he was alcoholic. And yeah, growing up in a bad neighborhood also triggered me when I was younger. So I thought that's how a man should be, a gangster, drug addict, you know.
There's strong genetic links to addiction, still to be proven. Economic stature, that all influences someone's biological makeup, and this all contributes to someone's predisposition to addiction. But I think that people are so closed-minded, and it's easier to believe that an addict or an alcoholic is a weak-willed, immoral human being than it is to see that this person is actually really sensitive and amazing and capable of reaching potentials that no one even imagined, and so you just write them off.
After the break, I'm going to take you into the dark, dangerous world of addiction. Drug and alcohol addiction isn't something you choose. It just happens. Sometimes quickly, sometimes very slowly. But when it does happen, it becomes very difficult to kick the habit. So, who becomes an addict and how?
So we know that the disease of addiction is a chronic relapsing disease, which means it may start off very simply, or on the weekend I'm just using something socially, or I'm having a drink in the evening to help me relax.
Peer pressure from my friends who influenced me to smoke while we were at this party in Pitori. They told me that when I smoke, everything is gonna be okay. I'm gonna forget about problems, stresses. I'm gonna be just fine.
But when someone is an addict, it means that they can't cope with their thoughts, their feelings, or what's happening around them.
I found the work at the guest house. The hours was quite hectic, long hours right through the night, late arrivals, checking guests in, checking guests out, and Kat and Crystal, it just helped me stay awake.
So when someone then finds a substance that helps that feeling go away, it finds that it gets worse and worse, that it progresses. So people will start off using a little bit, but then their body gets used to it, so they need more to get their initial high or escape.
Ngathi yaqala as abangani si group nje abangani esikolweni.
It also means that their lives become more and more dysfunctional. So the more stressed and overwhelmed they feel, often the more drugs or substance they might take.
With so many illegal substances available in this country, it's hard to know the difference between dick from crack if you're not a user. So I spent some time with a narcotics officer to find out the A to Z of what's out there on the market and what they do to a user's body.
So most of the people start with dagga. It's commonly available, it's a plant form, so you can grow it basically anywhere. You get two different varieties. You get your Majat and you get your Swazi. That comes
This is
from...
the Mickey Mouse stuff.
This is Mickey Mouse. This is Majat. This is what the people usually use when they smoking Nyaupe. Everybody starts there. From there on, they move little steps to the next one, because after a while your body adapts to the smoking of dagga. It's same as you smoke a cigarette. Nyaupe is a street name for people who smoke heroin.
Is this it here, the fine stuff at the
That's
bottom?
the fine brown stuff.
But mixed
underneath,
with...
Mixed with dagga
or tobacco.
and tobacco. This is how it looks when they're rolling it, when they finish with rolling it. That's going to cost you more or less about $50. Now, people come and say, yeah, but there's only one thing, Nyaupe. Nyaupe is not one thing, it's a mixture. So on the street, they call it cocktail as well. From then, the heroin itself get cut by acid. Sometimes they put in baby toothing powder. Depends on where you buy it from.
Tell me about this ARV situation. Is that true or is that a myth?
Yes, that is, people mix the heroin powder and they mix in the ARVs.
What's in the ARVs that...
The proteins that are supposed to keep you alive.
But why do the guys specifically put
Because
ARVs?
of
Is
the-
it to boost the immune system?
No, to break down your immune system.
Okay.
To give you a faster rush.
Jeez, like...
So it's the same with Ratex. If you put Ratex in it, it thins your blood, so it goes faster
quicker.
through your system.
And when you are high on drugs or desperate to get that next high, you'll do almost anything, which we already know involves crime.
I used to wake up early in the morning just so that I could rob people that's on their way to work, because I knew they always have money, phones and laptops. So I would rob those people and then I would be all right for the day.
We'd go into houses, wake people up silently, tie them up in the bathrooms and take all their possessions that we could carry or that we could fit in the car. Even with the car that we would go and do house robberies with, we would have hijacked a couple of hours before.
Yaqala besinganamali sifuna into yokubhema. Saqala nje ngokuthathela abantwana besikole amafoni, amawallet, and then yakhula sagcine sesibamba abantu abasemotweni inkunzi, sithatha amafoni, ama-bracelets, jewelry.
Okay, crack cocaine. Crack cocaine powder on its own is very expensive. People on the street don't have that type of money. So that's when I start experimenting it with bicarb of soda, Epsom salt, and sometimes you find a little bit of brake fluid with it. It becomes a solid crystal like this. The dealers or the pushers walk around with pieces like this. This they carry in their mouth or between their bums.
And how do you take this? How do you...
You smoke this with a crack pipe like this.
Okay.
This is a glass pan, and you get the normal one that's been made of metal.
Is there a big difference between crystal meth and nyaupe?
Nyaupe is the powder, the heroin is a powder.
Okay.
Crystal meth is crystals. It looks like sea salt. That's sea salt crystals. It looks like that.
Okay.
You smoke one crystal at on a crystal, on a bowl, basically, what you are smoking it, and you would pay per crystal. You don't pay per grams, or you pay per crystal.
Okay, and how big is the crystal?
About a matchstick.
Oh, okay. As
It's
big
like
as
a head of a matchstick.
What's this?
Okay, that is cat.
Okay.
Cat. That's the new party drug of our times.
When you say new, because I mean, I did cat 15 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that obvious.
It wasn't that prevalent then.
Prevalent,
I guess
yes.
now it's...
Now,
okay.
it's not natural like dagga and cocaine and heroin that's been cultivated from plants and things. That's purely come from a lab.
Synthetic.
Yeah, synthetic. This small baggie will keep you awake for 72 hours.
Sure. There's a picture you showed me. Is
Yes.
that because somebody... Where's that picture? Is that because somebody took cat?
This is of the effects that you have when you sniff cat. And you see, even the soft tissue of your nose, that bone, get eaten away.
Acetone, toluene, sulfuric acid, sodium hydroxide, potassium chromate. I mean, this is like...
It's all synthetic. Yeah, it's an acid bath.
It's an acid bath, yeah?
Yeah, it's an acid bath. Now imagine you sniff that and go into your brain.
Drugs alter the user's behavior, and the police have to be ready for it. In the process of trying to rid our streets and communities of drugs, cops are constantly exposed to the unknown. But it's an almost insurmountable task.
No, sometimes you feel that you don't even want to get up in the morning to go and work. You don't have the energy to go and work. But we're here, and you try to do it to make a difference. And sometimes it's hard, because you hear the old same story over and over again. You know that drugs are killing people. You know it. You can see it, how a person's body and his mental state changed from using drugs. And there's absolutely nothing. The choice that they make is a choice that they have to live with.
The world of addiction is frightening. But what's even more frightening is the world of recovery. And after the break, we'll see why. Life of addiction is lonely, isolated, and narrow-minded. It's all about the next hit or the next fix. That is until you realize that if you don't do something urgently to change your life, you're going to wind up dead.
Ukhona umngane wami owashona siloko losibhema naye. Mara yena washoniswa like beka umuntu besibamba naye inkunzi. So wagcina sekabamba inkunzi esayidini ayi-1. And then wabanjwa umphakathi eCliptown. And then bamshaya waze washona.
My best friend died because he was smoking with injection. He used to inject the heroin. So last time he did a miss shot. After the miss shot, he fell. After falling a couple of minutes, the heart stopped. So he died that way in front of me.
He was feeling cold. The mushrooms made him feel cold. So he made a fire inside the house. He burned the house down. And he burned with the house. Died in the house, in the fire.
I heard gunshots and I ran towards him. I ran out and I ran to him. And I saw him walking to me with holding his stomach. And I knew something's wrong and I grabbed him. He felt like he collapsed into my arms. And he told me, please don't tell my mother I was using drugs. And then he died.
Death is the ultimate price a user pays for his or her addiction. But there's a program in place to help young people redefine their lives before they slide down the slippery slope of drug use, crime, and self-destruction.
Started 2012, we call it the Drug Child Diversion Program. It's according to the Child Justice Act, where we would divert children in schools that's got a substance abuse problem or a Schedule 1 or 2 offense that's a less serious offense. So it's basically your common assaults, your petty thefts, and then substance abuse, where we put them on a program and divert them from the normal ways to change their behavior and make them a better person. We call the parents to bring the child to us. Then we start explaining the whole process. We open a docket basically for a paper trail. Then once a month for the 4 months up to a year, we take the child. Once a month he goes to court, where he signs a contract with the court, say he will stop using drugs, he will do better at school, he will do culture, sport. If it worsens in such a degree and he's still a child, then you go to a further step of diversion. We call it a formal diversion, where you take them through the process of seeing a probation officer, children's court, and then he gets sent to a rehab facility like Usasa, that's a youth detention center, that will rehabilitate them over a time frame of 6 months.
The diversion program works for children up to a certain age. For others, rehab is available if you're ready to commit to changing your life. There are 308 rehab facilities spread across South Africa, with 87 of them located in Gauteng alone. And of those facilities in Gauteng, 10 are NGO, 19 are private, and 58 are government funded. Being in rehab is one thing. Coming out and staying clean is another. Nationwide, just over 3% of addicts who attend rehab are successful in kicking their habit. And with approximately 9,000 people currently in rehab, you can do the math and see that we are fighting a difficult battle.
So people come into recovery in many different ways. Some people come in voluntarily, and obviously that's the first prize for people who know they want to change their lives, because then they come into the treatment process in an open, willing way. There's the other side of people who aren't willing to change their lives yet. They might have a knowledge that their lives aren't working, but they're not sure about the changes they need to make.
Rehab is only the first step of recovery. Going home clean presents a whole new set of problems when the place you live and the people you socialize with are still entrenched in substance abuse. And all recovering addicts are not equal.
I'll tell you where economic status comes in, is that, we've got patients, sometimes, you've got a family that comes in and they've got medical aid and they can come to us, but they're going straight back into such a dangerous situation because they're living next door to the drug dealer. Everyone is using on the street corners and it's not like they can move away from it, whereas our patients are living in high-walled, gated communities and don't have to be faced with their addiction on a daily basis, but in fact, they have to go there willingly and actually look for it.
He came out, went to visit him at the rehab, and he was doing well. He was doing okay, obviously, because he was in the confines of a rehab. So he's doing well. Everyone does well in rehab. 6 weeks later, 6 to 8 weeks later, it was time for him to come home. I was as nervous as hell, because what if it comes back? What if the trauma comes back? He was okay for a whole of 2 days. And he relapsed again with his friends. I was broken.
Broken loved ones are part of broken communities. And some of them are taking the law into their own hands by forcibly evicting prostitutes and dealers from mini brothel drug dens. What things that?
No, yonke inyaka I mean, ama-cocaine, drugs and, nabafazi. And but then what he said about it, ukuthi, kule strato lesakhona, now labantwana sebatshintshile basatshontsheli because bantshontshela wona lama same clients. But now sebantshontshela abantu like estrateni sakhona, now the community is very unhappy with that.
But then again, police were here.
Vigilantism is harsh and illegal. But desperation leads to desperate measures.
Izakwenzeka repeatedly. And esicelayo ukuthi ni vacate le ndawo. We are giving you 3 days to vacate this place. Because you are not even paying rent for that matter. You can't be saying that, hey, imali sayithatha kube sesibhatele ukubhatela ubani. You are saying that 3 days sicela niphume.
Drug and alcohol abuse destroy everything in their path. Nobody knows that better than an addict.
Kulaba ababhemayo ngathanda ukuthi uncedo lukhona if vele bazimisele bakhulumile nobungabo ukuthi bafuna ukuyeka bangancedakala abangabhemi abahlale dewe bangakhona bangalinge nje bazame into eyama drugs nje empilweni yabo.
Don't try it, it's not worth it. You lose everything in life. You don't gain anything, you lose everything.
Drugs is a killer. It's something that kills you slowly. It's like poison, taking bits and bits of poison every time. It's either you are going to end up dead or you're going to end up in jail or living on the streets because of drugs. It makes you lose everything that you have, everything you love.
In this series, we will show you some people going through hell and others successfully coming out the other side. There is hope. But first we have to open our eyes to the problem that is killing good people, good families, good communities. It's time we admit that we have a massive problem on our hands. Communities everywhere are doing all they can. Can they do more? We all can. But first you have to ask yourself the question, am I doing something? And if not, what can I do? The first step is to first understand the problem of alcohol and drug addiction in South Africa. And through this series, we aim to unpack that. The second step is whether you're an addict, know of an addict, or simply want to get involved is entirely up to you. But one thing is crystal clear. If we all work together, we can kick it.